The mansion had stood alone on the hill for over a century. The townspeople called it cursed. Anyone who tried to stay there never lasted a full night. Because the mansion belonged to Callisto. Callisto had been a ghost for so long that he no longer remembered the warmth of sunlight or the sound of his own heartbeat. The world had changed many times while he remained trapped inside these walls, and during that time, he had grown to hate humans. They were loud, greedy, cruel. They came to claim what was his, so he hunted them. Every owner before had fled screaming within hours, but the new owner was different. Her name was Elena Ward. The large iron gate creaked as Elena pushed it open. The locals had warned her. That mansion is haunted. People see things there. A ghost lives inside. Elena adjusted her coat and looked up at the dark mansion with curiosity instead of fear. Perfect, she murmured. Inside the mansion, the air felt cold and ancient. From the shadows above the staircase, Callisto watched her. His pale figure hovered silently, half hidden in darkness. Another human, another intruder. His voice echoed softly through the hall. Leave. Elena stopped walking. Then she slowly looked around. Hello? She said. Callisto's eyes narrowed. Most people ran the moment they heard him. She didn't. A chandelier above her began to shake violently. The lights flickered. Leave, the ghost repeated, louder. Elena sighed. Oh, you must be the ghost. Callisto froze. The woman sounded mildly annoyed. She set her suitcase down. Listen, Elena continued calmly. I paid a lot of money for this house, so if you're planning to do the spooky thing all night, at least let me unpack first. Silence filled the mansion. Callisto stared at her in disbelief. Humans usually screamed by now. Instead, she was negotiating. His form slowly appeared at the top of the staircase. Tall, pale, his long, dark hair floated slightly, as if underwater. His eyes glowed faintly silver. Elena looked up. They stared at each other. Her face paled. Okay, she whispered. That is actually terrifying. Callisto expected her to run. She didn't. Instead, she tilted her head slightly. So you're Callisto? His voice was cold. You know my name. The townspeople talk a lot. Then you know what happens to people who stay. Yes. Then why are you still here? Elena shrugged. Rent in the city is expensive. For the first time in decades, Callisto didn't know how to respond. That night, he tried everything. Doors slammed, windows shattered, whispers echoed through the hallways. At one point, he even appeared beside her bed. Elena pulled the blanket tighter and squinted at him. Do you mind? She mumbled sleepily. I'm trying to haunt you, Callisto said coldly. You're doing great. She turned over. And could you maybe haunt more quietly? Callisto stared at her. No one had ever asked a ghost to be quieter. Something strange stirred in his chest, an old emotion he had forgotten. Confusion. Days passed. Elena didn't leave. Instead, she cleaned the mansion. She talked to him like he was a grumpy roommate. Sometimes she cooked and left food on the table. I know you can't eat, she told him once, but it feels rude not to offer. Callisto watched her from the shadows. Humans were selfish, cruel. Yet this one, she hummed while dusting the shelves. One evening, she sat by the fireplace reading a book. You're staring again, she said without looking up. I am not. You are. Callisto slowly appeared across the room. You should fear me. Elena closed the book and studied him. Why do you hate humans so much? His eyes darkened. Because I remember what they did. Silence fell. Elena's voice softened. Did they hurt you? The question struck him harder than any exorcism ever had. For a moment, the anger faded. Just for a moment. Yes, he said quietly. She didn't laugh. She didn't doubt him. Instead, she said something unexpected. That must have been lonely. Callisto's form flickered. Lonely. No one had used that word for him before. Weeks passed. The mansion grew warmer somehow. Not physically, emotionally. Callisto began appearing more often. They talked. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes Elena told him stories about the modern world. You're telling me people carry tiny glowing boxes everywhere? They're called phones. And they willingly listen to music without orchestras? You'd love headphones. Callisto smirked faintly. It was the first time he had smiled in over 100 years. One stormy night, thunder shook the mansion. Elena sat curled on the couch. Callisto appeared beside her. You fear storms, he observed. I don't like thunder, she admitted. Another crash echoed outside. Without thinking, she reached toward him. Her hand passed through his chest. They both froze. Elena quickly pulled back. Sorry. Callisto looked down where her hand had been. I cannot feel. She hesitated. That's sad. Something in her voice broke through the walls he had built for centuries. Why are you kind to me? He asked. Elena looked at him quietly. Because you're not the monster everyone says you are. His voice became softer. And what am I? She smiled gently. A lonely ghost who needed a friend. Callisto stared at her. His silver eyes flickered with an emotion he hadn't felt since he was alive. Love. Dangerous. Impossible. Yet growing stronger every day. He moved closer. Elena? Yes? You should not stay here. Why? His voice dropped to a whisper. Because if you remain, I may forget how to let you go. Elena looked up at him. Her heart pounded. Maybe, she said softly, I don't want you to. For the first time in a century, the haunted mansion was no longer filled with hatred. It was filled with something far more terrifying. Love. And Callisto, the ghost who hunted humans, had fallen for one. The storm outside the mansion raged through the night. Rain struck the tall windows like restless fingers. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the old walls. Elena sat quietly on the couch while Callisto stood near the fireplace, his translucent figure flickering in the dim light. Neither of them spoke for a while. Finally, Elena broke the silence. You're doing it again. Callisto tilted his head slightly. Doing what? Staring at me. I am observing you. That's a fancy word for staring. Callisto folded his arms. You are a very strange human. Elena smiled faintly. And you're a very dramatic ghost. For a moment, the tension eased. But then Elena's smile faded. Callisto, can I ask you something? His silver eyes shifted toward her. You already are. How did you die? The air inside the mansion grew colder. For a long moment, Callisto said nothing. His form drifted toward the tall window as lightning flashed outside. I was betrayed, he said quietly. Elena watched him carefully. By who? Humans. His voice held an ancient bitterness. I built this mansion when I was alive. It was meant to be a sanctuary, a place where people I trusted could live peacefully. Another flash of lightning illuminated his pale face. But greed corrupts even the closest friends. His voice became darker. They poisoned me. Elena's eyes widened. They buried me beneath the foundation of this house and claimed everything I owned. The room went silent, except for the storm outside. That's why you're trapped here, Elena whispered. Yes. And that's why you hate humans. Callisto looked at her. I have watched centuries of them pass through this world. His voice became hollow. They destroy everything they touch. Elena stood up slowly. Not everyone. Callisto gave a faint, humorless smile. That is what they always say. She walked closer to him, close enough that she could see the faint glow in his eyes. And yet, she said softly, you didn't chase me away. Callisto hesitated. You are different. How? You speak to me as if I am still human. Elena tilted her head slightly. Maybe you are. His expression darkened. I am a ghost. Yeah, she shrugged. But you still care. Callisto went silent again. Because she was right. Over the next few days, something began to change between them. Callisto started appearing beside Elena more often. Sometimes he watched her cook. Sometimes he followed her through the hallways while she repaired parts of the old mansion. One afternoon, she stood on a ladder trying to fix a light fixture. Don't fall, Callisto warned. Elena glanced down at him. You're worried about me? I do not wish to deal with another corpse in this house. Wow, how romantic. She leaned too far. The ladder slipped. Elena gasped. Before she could hit the ground, the ladder stopped moving, floating in midair. Callisto's power held it steady. She slowly climbed down. You caught me. I prevented damage to the property, he replied calmly. Elena crossed her arms. You used ghost powers to save me. I protected my mansion. She leaned closer to him. You protected me. Callisto looked away, but the faintest hint of embarrassment crossed his face. That night, Elena sat outside on the mansion balcony. The sky was clear again. Stars stretched endlessly across the darkness. Callisto appeared beside her. You should sleep. I couldn't. Why? Elena looked up at the sky. Do you ever miss being alive? Callisto followed her gaze. I do not remember it clearly anymore. That's sad. Memories fade after a century. She turned toward him. What do you remember? He hesitated. Then he said quietly, warmth. Elena listened. The feeling of wind against my skin. The sound of my own heartbeat. His voice grew softer. And touch. She swallowed slightly. That one I remember the most. A long silence passed. Then Elena slowly lifted her hand. What if you could feel again? Callisto looked at her. That is impossible. Ghost stories always have strange rules. She took a step closer. Her hand moved slowly toward his face. You might pass through me, he warned. I know. Her fingers moved forward. Closer. Closer. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, her fingertips met resistance. Both of them froze. Elena's eyes widened. Callisto. He looked just as shocked. Her fingers were resting against his cheek. And for the first time in over 100 years, Callisto felt something. Warmth. His breath caught. That should not be possible, he whispered. Elena's voice trembled slightly. But it is. She moved her hand gently. His form flickered, unstable. Yet her touch remained. Callisto closed his eyes slowly, as if afraid the moment would disappear. I can feel you, he murmured. Elena's heart raced. Good. His eyes opened again. The silver glow in them was softer now. More human. Elena? Yes? You are very dangerous. She laughed quietly. Why? Because you make me wish for things that ghosts cannot have. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Like what? Callisto looked at her. Life. The wind moved gently through the balcony. Elena didn't pull her hand away. Instead, she stepped closer. So what happens now? She asked softly. Callisto watched her carefully. I do not know. His voice was barely above a whisper. But if you stay here, I may fall in love with you. Elena smiled. Too late? And somewhere deep within the ancient mansion, for the first time since his death, Callisto's heart almost felt like it was beating again. His POV. I have haunted this mansion for longer than most humans can imagine. Seasons change, generations rise and fall. The world outside moves forward while I remain trapped in the same endless night. At first, I hunted them. Anyone who stepped into my home became prey. Their fear fed the anger that kept me from fading away. I remember their screams. I remember the satisfaction of watching them run. Humans had taken my life, so I took their peace. For a century, that was enough, until Elena Ward arrived and ruined everything. The first moment I saw her, I expected the usual outcome: fear, screaming, running. Instead, she looked directly at me and said, "Okay, that is actually terrifying. Not run, not help, just observation." I remember thinking, what kind of human reacts like that? Even when I shook the chandelier, she only sighed. When I whispered in the darkness, she told me she needed sleep. Who negotiates with a ghost? Apparently, Elena. At first, I tried harder. I slammed doors. I whispered her name in the hallways. I appeared beside her bed in the middle of the night. She opened one eye and said, "Callisto, it's 3 a.m. I remember blinking. Ghosts do not follow time schedules. Well, maybe start. Then she rolled over and went back to sleep. I had carified kings and soldiers, and yet this woman treated me like an annoying roommate. It was insulting and strangely fascinating. Days passed. She cleaned my mansion. My mansion. Dust disappeared from rooms that had been abandoned for decades. She repaired broken furniture. She even spoke to the empty air while working. You could help, you know. I am not a servant, I told her from the staircase. You literally float. You're the perfect cleaning assistant. I am a ghost of vengeance. Well, right now you're a ghost of laziness. I remember feeling something unfamiliar. Amusement. The sensation startled me so much that I vanished for an entire hour. But the strangest part was the loneliness leaving. For 100 years, the mansion had been silent, except for my anger. Now I heard humming in the kitchen, footsteps in the hallway, laughter, human sounds, and somehow I did not hate them, not when they came from her. One evening she asked about my death. I did not want to tell her, but she looked at me the way people look at broken things, not with fear, with concern. So I told her about the poison, about the betrayal, about the darkness that followed. When I finished, I expected pity. Instead, she said quietly, "That must have been lonely." Lonely. I had never described my existence that way. But when she said it, I realized it was true. I had not been angry all this time. I had been alone. The night she touched me, everything changed. Ghosts cannot feel. We are echoes, shadows, memory. But when her fingers reached my face, something impossible happened. Warmth spread through my form like light breaking through fog. I could feel her. Her skin was soft, alive. I closed my eyes because I feared the moment would vanish. I can feel you, I whispered. My voice barely sounded like my own. In that moment, I remembered something I thought was lost forever. Hope. But hope is dangerous for someone like me, because I know something Elena does not. Ghosts do not belong in the world of the living. Eventually, she will grow older. Eventually, she will leave. Eventually, I will remain here alone again. I have watched it happen before, and I do not think I could endure it twice. Tonight, she sits beside me on the balcony. The stars shine above us. She leans against the railing. Callisto? Yes. What are you thinking about? I hesitate. Then I tell the truth. You. She smiles. That sounded serious. It is. The wind moves her hair gently. For a moment, I simply watch her. The way moonlight touches her face. The way her eyes glow when she looks at the sky. If I still had a heart, it would belong to her. Elena. I say quietly. Yes? Why not? Because I cannot give you a future. She studies me for a long moment. Then she steps closer. Close enough that I can feel her warmth again. You gave me a home, she says. I already had this mansion. That's not what I meant. Her hand touches my arm. The sensation sends a ripple through my entire form. You gave me someone who understands me, she whispers, and that matters more than a future. I stare at her. Humans are fragile, temporary, yet somehow they are also braver than immortals. I am afraid, I admit. Of what? Of loving you. She tilts her head. Why? Because ghosts cannot survive heartbreak. Elena smiles gently. Good thing I'm not planning to break your heart. For the first time since my death, I laugh. And somewhere deep within the cursed mansion that once echoed with fear, a ghost begins to believe he might not be alone anymore. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more. And those who already subscribed, thank you so much.